say a prayer.
I'm just going to ring the bell and stuff.
Okay, I mean, it's good. Mm-hmm.
Are you going to take this off, Sita?
Take what off my shirt?
Hi. No, I was talking about this. Peace.
Oh no, it's still. Hey, everybody. My wife has asked me about the mask. I mean, this is the times we in. I mean, I'm in and out and all about.
This is Zakai Free.
This is Ananda Free.
Welcome to African Spiritual Conversations.
Good to see everybody.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, has it been a whole since the new year?
We haven't been on since last year.
Man, we could say a double Happy New Year. We could say
Happy New
the
Year.
regular New Year and then the lunar New Year.
Happy Chinese New Year.
Chinese New Year, Year of the Ox. And just because it's African spiritual conversations don't mean we can't cover all of the cultural bases.
Well, Chinese people are African.
Indigenous. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, who's not African?
I mean, right.
You may not want to claim it, but we're going to name it. Yeah. So you're looking beautiful. It's good to be here with you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So we haven't been on here in a minute, and I felt like it was important to talk about. And you can tell me if this is what you want to talk about today, but this is what hit me as we were getting ready today.
Hit me.
There is a difference between Western thought and African thought.
Mm-hmm. Big time.
And I feel like because there's so many people coming into African or indigenous spirituality and then African spirituality, that one thing that is not really touched upon so much, is the fact that African tradition and African spirituality, indigenous spirituality is greatly hierarchical, which means there's elders, there's accountability to leadership, but it's not based on some type of corporate structure.
Okay.
Meaning it's not based on capitalism. Well, I think sometimes it is, but in its purest form, it wasn't. It wasn't based on that.
Okay.
And I want to kind of dig into that, maybe like this episode and also the next episode, because I think that's important.
Okay.
One, in my limited experience as a Iya, as a priestess of Yael, Shun Ori Yael, and an initiate, and being on this path in a conscious way, practicing the African spirituality since 2006, a very intentional way. One of the biggest things that I needed to surrender, and this might be, what is the thing called? Controversial, is my ego.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is saying that, I'm discerning. I have awareness. I pray to my Ori for that awareness. And also when I'm with elders, I say, I don't know everything. I really don't, whether I'm with other people or not. And then that when I do, because that's not a if, it's a matter of time. When I do go to an elder, it's a when. Not if. When I do go to elders, I'm sitting at their feet, and I'm also very aware that they are ahead of me in a lot of ways. And I am releasing what I think I know, what I think I understand, and emptying my cup in order to bring in other wisdom.
Okay.
I'm not talking about knowledge, because knowledge can be attained anywhere.
I say.
But wisdom cannot be.
No. Right. Wisdom is gained from experience or revelation. Again, being around people who are wise and being receptive enough to take it in.
Right. And even wisdom comes with when people can tell you, hey, I have a certain amount of knowledge in this area, but don't ask me about budgets, because I'm not going to be able to talk to you about that. I don't have, wisdom.
Wisdom is in knowing your boundaries.
Yes.
Which goes again what you said about the ego,
Yeah. So I kind of want to touch on that.
Okay.
Because like in your this way this frame is.
No, this is where you are here. Don't worry about that. This is you're fine.
Okay.
You want to see yourself more.
It just feels.
There you go. Okay. There you go.
Thank you, Papa.
I'm here to help.
So, even in your journey when you were at FAM and you met Mama Hana.
Yes. Big up, Hana Imhotep. Yes.
And how that you meeting her on the campus, like, blew the doors open for the next phase of your own deep spiritual development.
Right.
And she's older than you, but she wasn't that much older than you, but she was older.
And she had a lot more lived experience. You know, so again, to that wisdom, I mean, she was already a mother, had a lot of work experience. Like, she wasn't a traditional student. I'm coming into college at like 18. She probably came into college at, I don't know, in their early 30s, maybe something like that. I'm not sure the whole age difference thing, but she had a lot more lived experience than I did, and also more experience on the spiritual path with the various groups and organizations that she had been affiliated with and learned from. Yeah, definite. So
talk about that. Talk about what that was like for you at 20 some odd years old, and coming from a Christian background, and going into meditation and African spirituality and even some Eastern philosophy.
Sure. Well, people can talk about the dark night of the soul. You know, when you have that clash of consciousness when you realize that whatever you may have learned needed some augmentation, like it wasn't enough. Like, coming up in the church, being very well steeped and trained by my dad, who was a very wise person, Bishop Tate Sr. Yashe, great example. But then you're off on your own, in a strange place around these people, and I wasn't really attracted to go to church like that. You know, the church for me was more of a family thing than it was like a religious thing where I felt like I had to be there. And I wasn't scared of going to hell. Like, that wasn't my concept. Like, oh, I better be there on Sunday. I'm going straight to hell. I mean, people would drink all night, all weekend, from Friday, Thursday night to Saturday, 2, 3 in the morning. And if they had to be in that pew on Sunday, it's almost like as soon as you cross that threshold into whatever the church was, Baptist, whatever it was, like, all of your sins would just be washed away. You know what I'm saying? Like, everything you did the night before, whatever kind of devilment you up to, that wasn't my I wasn't into that. So, but I came to a point where the experiences I was having just in my life and evolving, I didn't have the spiritual connection that I needed to really be able to navigate well. And when I prayed, and I cried out, like, I can't do this anymore. Like, this is, like, I remember very distinctly, like, late at night, just crying and feeling very alone. And, like, of course, I mean, I was popular. I knew people and stuff, but inside it was empty, or not empty, but it just, I wasn't plugged in.
I think that's a great, you get to say that.
Let me claim it and name it.
I'm serious. No, I think you get to say that because I think sometimes people...
It's getting warm in here. Let me loosen up a little bit. Go ahead, I'm listening.
Are you finished, sir?
Yeah, but we'll do our advertising later. This is brought to you by Tales from Heaven.
Yes, a word from our sponsors. Shout out to Fawcett, Odebe, Bergie.
Yes. May your animal companions have a heavenly experience in their transition.
All right, now.
Okay, so what were you going to say?
And so...
What's going on?
So that gets to be said.
Yeah.
Because people come to, in my experience, in my own personal experience, you'd be like, I'm going to do this Ifa Oshun thing. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get my readings and everything, get my work done.
Right.
But I'm good on everything else.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I wasn't good on nothing. Nothing. Like I had, for those who are into metaphysics and maybe like they'll say new age healing, but there's nothing new under the sun.
Right.
That,
it's new to you.
It's new to you. Even when they talk about these crystals, I mean, come on, billions of years old compared to your 25-year-old self.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, anyway.
Yeah.
The kids are deciding to have a time right now. I was gonna say, I can look back and say, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
I was empty. I was absolutely empty. My cup was full of hurts and resentments and depression. I had heavy baggage, but my spirit was on E. My connection to my own self, my own Ori, my own spirit was on E. My connection to my higher power, my ancestors, I didn't even know about that, you know. And because I had some gifts, I had some really well tuned spiritual gifts, and I attribute that to different lifetimes that I've had those gifts, that they were so, you know what I'm saying, they were so like sharp and crisp, right? So it wasn't so much that I had to do in order to get those gifts to take up their rightful place, you know, be in their space. But I can say for myself, in my experience, that um, I definitely was in a deficit. And I was saying, when I was talking to, you know, Zakai Ifadele before he had to leave out, that it's important for one to acknowledge that they're thirsty, that they're hungry. You know, how somebody will come over for dinner, maybe, and they haven't eaten all day, but they don't want to be rude, so they're going to make it seem like they're not so, like, oh, I just, you know, I'm just going to have a little bit, or like for the sisters out here who have gone on dates, or brothers gone out on dates, and you want to make a good first impression, and so you don't want to seem like you're famished, you know. So you only eat a salad, but you know you want the entree and all the other things. That's where I was. Like, I was starving spiritually.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I was Your dog is whining.
Yeah, I'm going to do with the
Just
dog.
let the dog in.
It's too many things.
So when he comes home, the children want to see him. The dog wants to see him. It's a whole. You better act right. Sit down somewhere. So yeah, and so going back to what you were saying,
right?
Like, you were like, you weren't really empty, but you were. You were starving. You were hungry.
Yeah.
Spiritually.
Yes. Yeah, I have to thank you for helping me to put a name to it. I mean, that's basically what was happening. And
you were malnourished,
and I was going in the total wrong direction, like drinking a lot and just doing stuff that wasn't cohesive to having a good life at all. You know what I'm saying? And definitely not what I was incarnated here to do.
Right.
And so, answer prayer, right? I mean, you get to that point where, you're crying out, God, please help me.
Right.
I need your help, whatever. And then boom, I think I just saw like a sign somewhere hanging saying, you want to go to Africa. We're going to travel to Africa. Or I think it say Africa. Northeast Africa, I think is what it said. I was like, yeah, I want to go. And then we ended up with this group. Hana was leading it, and the other people were there. And we all just organized ourselves to prepare to go to Africa. And part of the preparation was, her whole talk was, this is not like an easy thing to do. It isn't just like buying a ticket. You know what I'm saying? We need to prepare ourselves spiritually and, mentally, all this kind of thing. And so right away, it was like, okay, we're going to be meditating. We're going to work on doing this vegetarian diet and stuff. And this little, cell was created of people getting themselves ready. I didn't know what I was getting into. I didn't know I wanted to go to Africa.
Right.
But out of that, started doing Tai Chi and started meditating regularly. There was some really spiritual, mystical people in the group. Like this one lady was like a seer, and it's all kind of wild stuff happened. But that really got me on my path and got me out of the alcohol, because she definitely wasn't going to have nobody like drinking and stuff, like, so she helped me to stop drinking altogether. I didn't drink for quite a while after that. So I mean, I don't know what else you want me to say about it, but that was the beginning.
Talk more about like before you came to Ifa. So like you had Hannah.
Yes.
And she was a spiritual elder to you.
Yes.
Even though she may not have said it for that in that way, but she was.
No, she was moving it as a peer and a support. You know what I'm saying? She never like, I'm the boss or I'm the chief of this thing. It was like, we're all in this thing together. Later on, as I got to know her and stuff and realized like, she had been worked with Dr. Sabi. He had, done some healing work with her whole family and just all different things. She was into the Rosicrucians and the SAR set, like these things I got to know later on, but she brought all of those different kind of was like cross training in a way, into the space. And I was open enough to receive it, and to my dad's credit, his teaching was, if you encounter something that shakes your faith, you don't question the thing you encountered, you question what you had faith in the first place, which gave me a lot of freedom to be able to move into these spaces and not be afraid, because I did have an understanding of faith, and I had a clarity that, in another one of his sayings, don't let anything get you so high that you don't have at least 1 foot on the ground. So as long as I felt like I had 1 foot on the ground, then I could, experience these different levels that were being offered. And so, we did a lot of fasting, a lot of prayer. I mean, definitely a real prayer warrior. We ended up living communally to save money because we were trying to help everybody go. Like, I was blessed, like my grandmother, other people who loved me, they could have, and they did, just, give me the money to be able to go. And I got like other things to happen. Some people didn't really have it. They had to raise the money and stuff. So we collectively worked together for that. Like we did little fundraisers and stuff, but it was all coordinated, and it was a spiritual journey and a healing first, like getting everybody on the same wavelength spiritually. Like there was one brother, I'm not calling nobody's names, but this dude, all he ate was Lorna Doone cookies and milk. Like that was his diet. You know what I'm saying? And he had huge bumps in his face, and he only used the bathroom like maybe once or twice a week. I mean, really serious stuff. But I was like, hey, we're gonna go on this trip. You gotta clean, everybody gotta clean up. You know what I'm saying? This is later on we found out, I didn't really understand what was going on, that we were going to Israel. I didn't, they said Northeast Africa, and I wasn't really hip to that. And you may not be hip to it either. Israel is Northeast Africa, for those who don't know. The Suez Canal is a man-made separation. There was a land bridge there where you could walk from Egypt into what was then Palestine and now Israel and stuff. It was actually something you could do on foot, and that's all part of the same landmass. That's Africa. But then they try to say it's the Middle East and all that kind of stuff.
No, all of that was Africa. That's why they could, in the scriptures, for those who have, been having Christian upbringing or in church.
Or been exposed.
Exposed.
Right.
That's why they said Christ could walk from, there was no water.
Right.
I mean, not to say that he didn't walk on whatever, the Galilee or whatever. I'm talking about.
Right.
They
made travels.
The travels. They made it sound like Egypt was right around the corner from Palestine, or Israel.
Yeah, it's all there in that same region. So that's what we were being prepared for. And little did I know, I was really being prepared for a large portion of my life. Moving from that point.
Right.
The meditation really was an awakening. To the limitlessness of spirit and the eternal nature within myself that I didn't have access to prior to that. And like, coming out of the church, you have the scriptural knowledge, like doctrine and things like that.
Right.
You may have some rituals around prayer and attending church and things of that nature. But it wasn't so much on that inner experience that is so important, and so that got me on that path, and I'm very grateful Because even with E5, it's the inner experience. You're having a relationship with the Orisha, with your ancestors. You can externalize it, and in some ways it is with divination and things like that. You get to see, or communicate in that way. But really, you got to check inside with your Ori and things like that. That's all internal. And so those tools that I learned during that time period really were essential.
Yeah, I think that even down to the teachers,
right,
that one is brought to or one attracts to themselves. Mm-hmm. I think that has a lot to do with it. Down to, like whoever a person's godparent is or mm-hmm. godfather is or mm-hmm. mentor, spiritual mentor is,
right.
There's still one, the spiritual mentor isn't necessarily there to be there in that capacity the whole time.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So they come to do a thing, and for as long as the shrines have allowed it, your ancestors have allotted, and mm-hmm. then they go on to do something else. But ultimately, the whole time, the relationship that one has with their spiritual mentors has a lot to do with the relationship that they have with themselves, or the ones that they want to cultivate with themselves. Mm-hmm. So if a person isn't wanting, if they're not looking to, like I was saying a little while ago, it was like, okay, I'm good on, I just want you to do the divinations and do the work.
Right.
I'm good. I don't need no relationship with this person, mm-hmm. but you do. Mm-hmm. You do have to have that's like saying, okay, Sherpa, you want to get me up Mount Everest.
Yeah.
Or to this aspect of the mountain.
Yeah.
But I just need to follow you until I don't think that I need to, or I can go off my own path. Or I only need you when the storms come. Mm-hmm. But I don't need you when it's a sunny day.
Yeah. Well, to your earlier point, that's that transactional, more
right.
kind of capitalist thing. Where
exactly.
It's very linear.
Yeah.
Let me use you
yes.
for this time period.
Yes.
And then I'll put you over here until I think I need you again.
Whereas the real thing is that the whole thing from beginning to end of the relationship, some people are with their mentors for a long time.
Right.
Some people, their mentor becomes, for some people, their spiritual mentor becomes less active after they get them through initiation or hand to be fire or certain things like this, mm-hmm. and they become more of a background type of a person. Mm-hmm. And then there's another teacher that comes and takes them on to initiation or post-initiation, whatever. Really, honestly, in Africa, it's a community type of thing. So everybody's involved in that way. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So mm-hmm. It's a little different, mm-hmm. but in the diaspora, it works the way that it works.
Yeah.
And so my thing is, the thing that was on my mind today is, for those of you who are looking to come to be a part of African spirituality or traditions, mm-hmm. that it's really important to let some of that Western stuff go.
I mean, you gotta
really.
let it all go, really, if you're gonna have the opportunity to heal and grow that is presented. You know what I'm saying? Like right. Something can be presented. And then it's like, well, how deep do you want to go into it? One of my teachers would say, it's like going to the ocean, right? So, you can go to the ocean, you can enjoy the view.
Right.
You can stick your toe in the water. You can splash around. You can swim. You can go out and go scuba diving. You know right. what I'm saying? Like, how much do you want to get out of this experience? And the more baggage you carry from that kind of Western transactional thing, and to that point, when we were talking about going to Africa, some people who originally said they wanted to go didn't stay around because all they wanted to do was buy a ticket. They didn't want to do all of the meditation, and the healing, all the prep work we were doing. And I found out later, I think these were instructions that we were being given, or Hana was being given from Israel, because she had contacts there. The whole thing was being coordinated. So I never asked her this, but I'm assuming that they were saying people need to be somewhat cleansed before coming here, because we don't want them coming here with all that craziness. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
yeah.
But the thing about it is, whether it's Israel, mm-hmm. whether it's Oyo, mm-hmm. whether it's Oshogbo,
right,
whether it's Cotonou, Benin Republic, whether it's Cuba, wherever it is
Mhm.
that people are going,
Mm-hmm.
you have to prepare.
Yes, yes. And it wasn't just Israel, like we were just going to like Tel Aviv or something like that. We were going to Dimona, the base for the African Hebrew Israelites. Big up to Robbie Ben-Ami and everybody who's a part of that community. That's where our destination was. And those were our tour guides on an African African spiritual tour.
I think one of the things that are really important, and I think I've said this before, is that when people look at this, it looks really, I don't want to say it looks flashy, but it looks like, oh, reconnection.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, my people. Ooh, Africa. Not taking into account that all of this is connected to the spirit world.
Yes.
Even in Ifa, they talk about, when we talk about the Orisha, we don't even know all the Orisha that ever have been. We talk about the ones that, there's 400 plus one.
Mm-hmm.
They always say plus one because we don't know.
Right.
Information dies. Every time an elder dies, it's like a library dies with it.
Mm-hmm.
So you talking about like thousands and thousands and thousands of years. We don't know. People have been doing their best to keep things going and alive and thriving.
Right.
But we don't know it all. The spirit world is vast.
Yes. And this is an oral tradition.
It's an oral tradition.
So again, that capitalist kind of thing of, well, where are the books? I mean, there are books, but you can't contain something like this. Culture can't be contained or conveyed through books.
No, and even when they talk about the verses for Ifa, for the Odu.
Sure.
Right? You can have 10 Babalaos, Yanifas in one place, one Odu. You will hear so many different verses. They're not just chanting 2 or 3. There's hundreds of verses for each Odu.
Mm-hmm.
And then for everybody who is there, let's say somebody is getting a divination, they're plugged in to this Odu for this person, for whatever is happening, for whatever ceremony is happening, right?
Right.
That is something for that person's life.
Mm-hmm. That is
something that is enhancing their destiny. It's something that's enhancing their state of mind. It's something that's enhancing their spirit. It's something that is healing them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's so important that when people are looking for teachers, looking for guides, looking for a way, that you understand that you're not looking for a way because it sounds sexy, because it sounds like, oh, well, I only, like I said, need this person for this, but I don't know. I don't know what I need this person for, but I'm compelled to go this way.
Right.
Now, your own, I just said a little while ago, your own
intuition,
or what's the other one?
Ori? No. Awareness?
Discernment. Your own discernment is going to tell you that if the person is not right, if the person is trying to get over, if the person is abusive, if the person is things like this, there are things in your spirit you're going to, and you have to listen to that.
Yes.
You have to listen to that.
Yes.
But if humans are humans, so with my students, I'll be like, look, 9 times out of 10, I'm not gonna be on time, honey. I'm trying. They working on me, and look, I'm probably, because things come up, because I have a family, and things aren't also always so Western. Where you got to be punctual,
right?
You do it when spirits say, "Let's go."
I mean,
even when people go, when you went to Israel, even when we went to Benin, it was a lot of hurry up and wait. You hurry up and get to the plane on time so you get there and wait. How long did we wait for our people to pick us up in Benin? It was 2 hours at the airport.
Yeah, it was a while. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't complaining.
I was not either.
I was glad to be there.
Exactly.
Some people might have been complaining.
Some people would have been
concerned. It was nighttime and things like that, and we had an additional hour or so on the road and all of that. But it's all part of the adventure, And I think that's another thing about like a non-Western view. It's like this journey is an eternal journey. Our spirits are always traveling and evolving and things like that. And what we are experiencing or achieving is not instantaneous, you know, and it may not be a straight route to get there. And that's okay, because when you look back, you realize some of those twists and turns and waiting for 2 hours, things like that, there's value in that, and if you're thinking about trying to get somewhere quick, real fast, let me get this thing done so I can do this next thing, then you really oftentimes are going to miss out on a lot of the real gifts.
Not only that, you're a liar.
How's that? Tell me.
Because when people say, hurry up, let me hurry up and do this, let me hurry up and get this, let me hurry up and do this, let me hurry up and get this certificate, let me hurry up and do this, you don't even embody it.
It's just a surface thing.
It's a surface thing. You haven't even taken it into it hasn't even penetrated.
Right. Right.
It hasn't had a chance to seep in.
Yeah, it's true.
You got to get in the water, even when you take a shower. You got to get in the water.
Mm-hmm.
You got to stand under the water.
Mm-hmm.
You have to wait until your skin is moist. Why? So the soap goes on. If it doesn't, it's going to be stuck. It's not going to go on smoothly.
Right.
Same thing with information.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be in a space in order to take it in.
Mm-hmm. True. Yes.
I was just telling a sister friend of mine earlier today. I said, sometimes my baba might say something. Even my elder, my first godmother, Yeye Doyin, there were stories I've heard countless times. But every time I heard the story, there was something different because I was in a different place in my development.
Right.
My baba, same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Aloye, he'll tell me a story. I'll sit and listen. I even, brought up as example several weeks back. I said, it's important to listen because I said, Baba, you told me this story before, but why? Every time you tell me it's different. There's something I'm hearing differently.
And there's a reason why the story's being told again. Exactly. It isn't just because, they got a bad memory or they only know one story. No, there's a reason that all these things have a purpose.
Yeah.
And so then if you're receptive, then you get to glean that wisdom. Some people be like, oh man, I already heard that. You don't have no more stories to tell?
See, that's exactly. And so like for me, I think that it's important when people are looking at an ATR that you're not, look, this just happened. Mm-hmm. You're sitting at, if it's a qualified teacher, if it's a qualified Babalawo or Yanifa, even somebody like myself who's still learning, but I have students.
Sure.
I'm qualified up to the level that I'm qualified.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Even then, it's important to empty out.
Mm-hmm.
It's important to, because people's ancestors are communicating with this person's ancestors, with your teacher's ancestors, people with their ori, with their own spirit. Mm-hmm. You never know how the knowledge is coming. You're sitting with ancient wisdom. You're sitting with the eternities. You're sitting with the Orisha. A couple weeks ago, I had to give an offering to Aye, to Onile, to Mother Earth. I know you lying. Hush.
She's bearing witness. She said, yeah, I remember that. Mm-hmm.
And when she accepted the offering, this earth that we walk on most people aren't thinking about her.
Right. The earth is alive.
The earth is alive. It's an Orisha.
Yeah, Ashe. Mm-hmm.
She feels everything.
That's right.
Not just what's happening in the forest. She feels us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when she accepted the offering, I felt her. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it almost took my breath away to sit. Billions of years you're sitting with, you don't even know. They estimate. Right. Mm-hmm. They estimate how old she is.
Right.
Billions of years old. I'm getting emotional. You're sitting with this living, breathing divinity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's powerful.
And you don't even, so if the earth is however many billions, you can't even count how many billions of years old she is. You can't even fathom how old these deities are. You can't even fathom how old Oludumare. You can't. It's always been. You can't even count it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So to even be plugged in, to even be tapped into something bigger than you, it's bigger than this skin, but we belong to it. Our souls are a part of it. Our souls are etched in it. And all of these learnings and these teachings are really just to get us back to our original self. Mm-hmm. And if we greet it with that kind of humility, if we greet our teachers and we each other, bear in mind that when I see you, my love, my darling, that I am interfacing with the eternities. I am engaging with ultimately God and Goddess. then you just shut the hell up and get what the information is you get to get. If you come from that place, you just be quiet. There's nothing to say.
Right. You're receptive because it's again like
there's nothing to say. There's nothing to say. Mm-hmm. But people come with so much. We come with baggage and trauma and things, but that baggage and trauma does not define us.
No.
Because then when we look at like other people, we're looking through the lens of our trauma, our baggage, our defeats, mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But when you think, hey, I have the opportunity to be in touch with myself on a deeper level.
Right.
I have the opportunity to be in conscious co-creation with these other beings on a deeper level in order to raise the vibration of humanity, in mm-hmm. order for our children and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren to have something that far beyond what we have ever had, but because they deserve it. I'm going to sit here. That, to me, that's healing of your line. I'm going to sit here. I'm going to be humble. I'm going to receive. I've taken the brunt of some things, so these people don't have to, mm-hmm. and so I can heal. So these people don't ever have to encounter anything that I've ever had to encounter.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, all that those experiences you said, the traumas and things. That I like the analogy of it being like a coat. And you have this big heavy coat on, and then when you come into your spiritual space, your awareness, and it's like taking the coat off. Now you're at home. You can relax and be in a space of receptivity. You're not in a fight.
Right.
People go into stuff and they want to fight the teacher. I done read these books. I done been here. I've been there, and then you can't receive nothing because you too busy trying to prove your authority. And that's a very Western thing too.
Right.
Like, everybody wants to be an expert. I mean, come on. I mean, again, like you were just saying.
How can you be an instant? Oh, excuse me. Go ahead.
You're saying the Earth is billions of years old. Where are the experts? I mean, not just you in your little lifetime. You know what I'm saying? The little things that you did. You got to tap into some elder wisdom, some ancient, things. And even the modern Western sciences, the things that they find, it's just corroborating what our ancestors knew thousands of years ago. So almost every day they're figuring out something and being like, oh, the people back in Egypt or the people in this part of Africa, the people there, they already knew that. They already had that. You know what I'm saying? Oh, we confirmed it. Like, okay, yeah, I'm glad you feel good about that. But that's, that's not what it is. It is about recognizing that there is so much to explore and to learn and so much space to grow into. And in order to do that, you have to be humble, which is kind of the opposite of being an American. Like, America's not about humility. It's about,
you're number one, you're the best.
We're the greatest thing that ever happened. And you got to get rid of that illusion or you're going to miss out on a lot, because that's a big block from wisdom.
Yeah.
We're talking about in the beginning, this big block from wisdom.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that it's important that people understand that, just like your parents are like your first teachers. I don't care what happened. If you can live through it.
Yeah.
If you had some traumatic experiences, what was the lesson?
Right.
And then you also know where you get to go in your ancestral line and what things get to be healed.
Yeah. My pops would always say, eat the meat and throw the bones away. So you learn what to do and what not to do.
Right.
And as you figure that out, you may also learn you don't have everything you need. Right. And then you got to go get it. Don't just be like, the way I was raised wasn't right or whatever, and then just sit on that. Then you got to go and explore some new ways.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you get those messages. Like, here's my example again. Here I am, gone through the church. I had accepted Jesus Christ as my savior and did the walk of faith. All those things. I had done those things as a child. Here I am now as a young adult in a new environment, and there was something more I needed. And I asked God for it, and God brought it to me in the form of Hannah and her husband and all this group of people, and then Israel, all that kind of stuff. I prayed, and I had to be open to receive the answer to my prayer. And I didn't have a concept of what it would look like.
Right.
And if I was waiting for a particular thing to happen, I probably would have missed it. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Because here I am, a young popular student, and here's this woman who's older. She's married. She don't live on the campus. None of that kind of stuff. And she's talking about fasting, being a vegetarian. All these things were very opposite to what my lifestyle was. And if I had a concept of what the kind of teacher that I wanted, that I would have missed that. But the fact that I was open and I was like, well, okay, this is what's here, and I was able to receive, then acceleration. You know, the growth was exponential. Because you said, diving in, I dove deep in, like boom, I left my place, moved in with this little group of people in one bedroom, some place like that. I mean, it was about 10 people in there. I mean, maybe a 2-bedroom. It was tight, you know what I'm saying? Right. Sleeping on the floor, you know. People thought I was crazy. People who knew me from my days with the 151 crew and the Blunt Squad, they thought I was insane. Like, this dude's walking around wearing white, he ain't eating no food. You know what I'm saying? All kind of stuff. Living with these strange people. And then, but now
those strange people be pop culture.
yeah, it's true. That's the wave, right? Yeah, you're right. That's the wave now, right? You're right. So
right.
So that was kind of
30 years ahead of your time.
Right. So many things are like that, but right on time, right?
But right on time.
Right on time. So, I mean, I think the bottom line here is just really about being receptive, and I think there's a certain amount of courage necessary too to admit that you don't know. It's called humility too, but there's courage in that too.
Oh yes, it takes something to. First of all, you're not submitting yourself to a person,
right?
You're submitting yourself to a higher power, and you're trusting that higher power that they're not leading you to somebody or something that's going to ruin you.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So one of the first things that I use, please don't have no. Don't trust me, but don't really have, your faith doesn't belong in me as a teacher. Your faith belongs in your higher power. Now, if you don't know how to do that, then let's build your faith muscle.
Right.
That's part of it, right? But it doesn't mean that I know everything. I know some things.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If my life or my testament, if you know anybody who has known me, then to who I used to be, to who I am now, there's a marked difference, you know, and all of that came from me really trusting my higher powers, trusting my ancestors.
Right.
My first teacher, my first teacher in African traditional religion was like, when they showed up, but really, when she showed up, but really a lot of it was about, okay, y'all, this my teacher, because I felt it in my heart. It wasn't a mind thing. It was a heart thing.
Right.
And the only one other person had really kind of like with their aura, with their energy, without really doing anything, because she'll tell you she didn't want me as a student. But just the presence, I knew there was something here for me. There was something in this space for me.
Right.
And it was my higher power, and it was my ancestors. They were like, come on, get this stuff so you can be with us, so you can learn, so you can hear us, so you can feel us, so you know when we're present. Did this stuff so you can hear your own spirit, and know what that is without a shadow of a doubt. Get this stuff so your children don't have to go through the things that your parents went through or your ancestors went through. Get this stuff so you can learn how to pray for your family line.
Right.
Pray heaven up to earth or heaven down to earth. Pray for protection. Pray for inner guidance and knowing, and not the dissolution of your ego or your personality, because you need it.
Right.
But when it matters, that all that chatter, all that clatter is way in the back, but your spirit is the first thing that people encounter, not your ego, not your fear, doubt, insecurity, none of that. Your spirit. You understand? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's what what it means when people say, did you feel that person's aura? Did you feel their energy? Did you feel their ashe? You have encountered their spirit, their anointing, their grace. and I'm using those words interchangeably, but it's still Ashe in African tradition, African spiritual tradition and spiritualities. That's what it is.
Right.
When you meet somebody, you're like, whoa, what is that?
Right. It's something that is cultivated, you know.
Right.
It's not like it's not with you, but you cultivate it like anything else, right? And you have gifts and talents that you're given,
right?
And you have to work on them to turn them into mastery.
Yeah.
You know? So you think about yourself as an experience of moving towards mastery,
right?
And that happens through being in tune with the master. You know what I'm saying? And again, at certain stages, there are different masters that show up. And anybody look at themselves like Hannah didn't see herself as being a master or anything that I know of. She was really being a humble servant and just sharing. She was leading us
right
to a master. And at that point, it was Ben Ami. It was leading us to this place to meet with this being, right? But the skills and the tools that we learn are lifelong tools. I think it's another way we talked about people sometimes being there for a time or circumstance or a space. And I think one way to know if that relationship or mentorship was really or is in the line of divinity is when you see that the tools that you got, you can use them whether that person is there or not.
Right.
When they may have moved on, you may have evolved or whatever, the things that you got from them still hold value.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's really important to know.
Yes.
Too. You may have a personality clash because the ego thing, like you said, is there. You may have a personality clash and you may not be able to continue on the path with that person. But are the lessons still valued and valid?
And if they're valid, you can use that stuff sink or swim. I will never forget. I have one of my god sisters, one of my spiritual god sisters, when we were training. One of the things that I remember when we were training before we initiated is Yayedo, you will always say, initiation can be intense, the process. When you feel like there's an intense process about to come, call your shrine. Call your shrine. Possess, call your shrine.
Right. Okay.
Every time something intense was about to happen and somebody went before me, God, thank you, God. That's why it's important to have a guide right there. Because if you follow somebody,
pay attention.
You're going to pay attention.
Right.
And when you're paying attention, you be like, oh, I don't know if I want to. I don't know about that. And so it was one person ahead of me who went before me, and then it was me. And we got to a part. I was like, no, you lying. And as soon as by the time it was my turn, I was gone. I was whoop. Oh, yeah, Shun was right there. I had to call my shrine down. And one of my god sisters, she was like, you get on my nerves every single time. I said, that's if I don't remember anything else from training, because I don't like being uncomfortable.
Another lesson there. Everybody doesn't apply the lessons. And that's why you got to be focused on your own journey. You could be in the midst of a group of people. And this is the dynamic here. And it's the beauty of like being in a balance between recognizing you're on your own spiritual journey, but you're also part of a collective experience too.
Right.
And so here you are with these other people who are also training and getting ready for initiation and everything. But you couldn't be worried about whether they were tuning in to the Orisha and calling that energy down.
Right.
You had to do that for yourself.
Right.
And then once you experienced it, and the other people probably look at you like, man, they could have done the same thing. The lesson was there. But you have to be ready to apply.
Right.
You know, so hearing the lesson is one thing. Even accepting it in a way is one thing. But applying it is where you really get the wisdom.
Right.
You know, because you can sit under the teacher, you can hear everything, you can accept, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I got that. But when you practice it, that's the application. That's when you move towards mastery and you really get to see the power of God, this power of Orisha, the power of spirit is in your practice.
Right.
It's not just theoretical.
Right. But that's what it is. That's exactly. Thank you, Baba. That's exactly what it is. It's the practice. Like in everything. And I was sharing this with somebody earlier today. I said the things that I have been consistent with in my life have been this practice, other than breathing, which I have no control over. Okay. I have no control over whether or not I'm going to take my next breath.
Sure.
But the things that I have been consistent about have been looking for my higher power, being in a relationship with my higher power, my ancestors, because
Mm-hmm.
that's where I draw my strength.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing else.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Taking care of our children and being a full-time artist and taking care of our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
The other three, not in any particular order, but that first one, having a relationship with the higher power, is it.
Yeah.
And so that has taken great practice, great surrender.
Right.
It's not always, you don't always understand it. I told somebody, from my experience, the spirit world, dealing with the spirit world, is divinely ordered and chaotic all at the same time, because you don't understand it. You're not going to understand. You're going to understand what works for you in this lifetime, but you're not going to understand all the knowledge, all the this, and all the power. You would just explode. Wow. Why?
And particularly coming from this kind of Western training, right?
Right.
Like, we can't deny the fact that we are born in this nation, and we have this kind of educational experience, stuff like that. So there's this kind of thing where in some ways you want to be able to apply logic and reason, all that kind of stuff, but it doesn't apply in this space. And, and you have to be willing to, like you said, let that go. And it come up at any time. Right. You know, like you're really trying to get more, not use the word scientific, but it's beyond that. Like you said, it's chaotic and it's in an order at the same time. And you got to be able to accept that.
Right.
Accepting that you don't know, I think, is a big thing.
It's a really huge thing. So I think we're about done for today.
No, sure. Yeah. I mean, I think our time is coming. I want to do another commercial for our sponsor today.
Okay.
This is Tales from Heaven. Let me see. You can see the back of the shirt. Can they see it right there?
Tales from Heaven.
Tales from Heaven.
Pet Loss and Bereavement Counseling, LLC.
You can Google that, Tales from Heaven, if you are a pet lover, as we are here in our home. We have wonderful animal companions.
No, we have two of them.
Baby. Oh. We have wonderful animal companions. And we're thankful.
I didn't hear the S.
Yeah, we're thankful for that. And this company, Animal Tales from Heaven, is there when the animals transition. And, again, recognizing that spirit is not limited to just human beings. Like you were just saying before, the earth is an Orisha. It has a spirit. It's alive. Everything around us is alive. In case you didn't know that, sorry. But maybe that's news to you. Everything has a spirit. So for those of us who have pets and love them, when they transition, the things we can do to help with the grieving process, to help with our own transition and things of that nature. That's what Tales from Heaven is all about. So tap in. They have a great resource. And you may know somebody who's a pet lover and think that they're really weird. Like, oh, the bed, dog be in the bed with them. You know how we can be, African people, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, of course, we're not kissing the dog on the mouth and stuff, but some people do that. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, whatever, you can recommend this to them. Like, you may not have any pets, but you say, oh man, my uncle, whatever, the Chihuahua passed or whatever.
Right.
Let me send them to this website. Because there's so much healing we can get from every angle. You never know what doorway your process may start.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, your spiritual journey might begin with doing something to help you with your pet loss.
Yes.
And then, wow, you find yourself on the path. Like, my journey began with wanting to go to Africa.
Right.
I didn't know that had anything to do with anything spiritual. I just wanted to take a trip.
Right.
And I've been tripping ever since.
And on that note, you're hilarious.
Yeah, that was a blessing.
So we're gonna, next week, we're gonna come back to this topic around how do you know if somebody's your spiritual teacher? How do you know if they're your mentor?
Okay.
How do you know what things to look for? What are things to be aware of?
Great. You may have some surprise guests next week. We'll see.
We're thinking about that.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was just thinking about that over here.
That's what happens when you're on the same page.
All right now.
Right now.
So thank y'all for joining us. Shout out to Sister Ro.
Make sure you share this with other people.
Yes.
Make some comments. We love doing it, and we want to hear from you. If you got questions and stuff, you can definitely write them in the comments, send them in.
Yes.
And so we can have a conversation. We don't want to just be a monologue or a dialogue. There's a whole bunch of people out here in the universe and in the world, on the internet. So this is your chance to interact.
Ashe. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you next week. Take good care.
Okay, I gotta go.
I love it. I love it.
Let me see.